That's right, baby. It's time for movie trailer trash. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to Movie Trailer Trash. My name is Charlie.
And I'm Bethany.
Oh my god, what happened?
I'm just laughing because I still don't even know the name.
What do you think the name
of
is?
the movie we're watching.
What's the... we just watched the trailer for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, there you go.
So now what?
This is when the operatic section comes in.
Oh, the operatic section, yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody is a biopic mostly about focusing on Freddie Mercury, but I think that the entirety of the movie is just about the band Queen in general.
And I'm Bethany. Sorry for laughing through my name. So welcome to Movie Trailer Trash. If you're a new listener, we're glad to have you. You can, of course, check out the actual trailer because the link will be in the description if you'd like to look at that before listening to the rest of this.
As you should. I mean, it's mostly just a remix of a bunch of different famous Queen songs.
Yeah, and then
But you get to see Rami
Yes.
Malek, the man from Mr. Robot, also in a few other things. Short Term 12 he was in. He
Night
was
at the
also
Museum.
in... Yes, he was... I think he was King Tut in
he
Night at the
is
Museum.
King Tut.
Yeah.
Yes.
He is King
Yeah,
Tut.
yeah.
Okay.
He's
Well, yeah.
great.
And so he's been in a bunch of things,
People
most
love him
famously
in Mr. Robot.
in Mr. Robot. And he looks like he's going to do a really good job here
He
as
looks
well.
just like him.
Yeah, they did a good
Just
job.
like, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name.
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. And the thing that's crazy is I couldn't tell you what anybody else in that band looks like, but I know what Freddie Mercury looks like. And he looks like that.
I think that's kind of the idea in general, is that Queen as a band, they were amazing and unique.
Very talented
and
musicians.
Incredible. But, you know, Freddie Mercury got basically a lot of the credit for Queen.
Well, and maybe it's because he deserved it.
He did, but...
Like, maybe he's the real genius behind all
their
of it.
guitar player,
I think that's the point.
Brian something. Hold on, let me look real quick.
Well, I think the point is that he's the real genius behind the music, but they're all incredible musicians, or they wouldn't be able to keep up with his brilliance and his ideas.
Well, they have a guitar player, and his name is Brian May.
Okay.
And he is like one of the better guitar players, I think, of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets
It's
overlooked
incredible.
a lot, and I think that's probably because they're so unique and interesting, and Freddie Mercury is such a huge...
Does Freddie Mercury just sing?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, he plays a lot of other instruments as well, but
Yeah.
his main thing was singing. Like when they
Well-
would do a show, like maybe he would do something for a song every once in a while. But Freddie Mercury is probably the second best singer in the history of the universe.
Oh, wow. And I'm sorry, but who are you putting him behind?
Aretha Franklin.
Okay. Wow. That is weird. I think for people who don't know you, Charlie, they're going to be quite confused. Those are such different singers to have as one and two.
I think that's the clear cut and obvious 1 and 2.
Okay.
There's no argument.
Freddie Mercury is a great singer. In the trailer, there's that part where the guy's playing the guitar and it leads right up to it's Bohemian Rhapsody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the part right where the guitar goes, "Drr," and then they start with the operatics, as they say.
Oh boy.
So is that the guitar player that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's so good.
Yeah. So in that scene, and okay, all of you have heard Bohemian Rhapsody, probably, right?
If you haven't, there's something horribly
it's the
wrong with
Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia. It's that one.
you. It's not
Mamma
the
Mia,
movie.
let me go. You know, that one.
Yeah.
And so right before that, when the guitar, it has this insane buildup. It's like da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na, right? And it builds up, and then it just goes and stops, and then they start singing the Mamma Mia, all the operatics. And in the trailer, when he does that and he stops right there, I mean, whoever wrote it, I'm guessing Freddie Mercury wrote him that part, so he was playing it. And that part builds up, and then it just stops, and he's like, and now what? And it's amazing, like, because of the way the music is written, where he's doing these scales, and they're getting higher pitched and louder, and then it just stops.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he stops, you're like, oh, something great is about to
But
happen.
I mean, I think that'll be my biggest issue with this movie is because the most interesting part of Queen is Freddie Mercury.
Sure.
And therefore, the other members of the band who were also amazing musical geniuses will not get the credit they deserve. But that's okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, anytime you have a biopic like this, you're going to learn about the rest of the band too. I mean, when you see the Johnny Cash movie, you learn about them too, but he's the main character. So like I couldn't tell you a single name of the people that were in his band, but I could tell you, you know, like some of the ways that they felt about him or how they interacted together because I saw it in the movie. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think that Freddie Mercury is an interesting enough person that it's okay that it's just about him. It has to be.
He's definitely an interesting person. And I mean, a lot of people, I mean, I think that people probably will disagree about Aretha Franklin, but even people who aren't
no, everybody loves her.
just super fans or like fans of that specific type of music, even people who like, you know, classical music and opera and stuff like that really respect and admire Freddie Mercury as a singer because he famously can sing. And I researched this to double check.
Yeah.
And this will mean more to you than it does to me. People who are know about music and singing can famously sing from low F, F2 to all the way up to high F, F6. Like that's his whole vocal range.
So he can sing. I wish I could think of how many octaves.
Well, I
that
think
is.
that the famous thing that people used to say about him was that he could sing 8 octaves.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. You know who else can sing 8 octaves? Well, probably not anymore.
Well, Freddie Mercury can't anymore either.
That's true. No, now I can't. Now I'm blanking. Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
And that's what she's
But
famous
see,
for.
that's what happens.
But that's a big deal. But yeah, she can't.
But she also makes
do
bad
that
music,
anymore.
so it doesn't matter.
Oh, you're full of it. You shut your face.
Ha! Mariah Carey burn, baby.
Don't burn Mariah Carey. I mean, now I'm not saying she's a great person today, but I'm just
burn
saying
Mariah Carey.
she still, I think, has the #1 hit of all time. That's been on the one song that was on the #1 list for the longest.
We Will Rock You.
No, but she almost, but it was almost recently usurped.
Don't care.
Or maybe it was. I don't know.
Certainly not as good as Queen.
Okay. Differing opinions, but obviously Queen is amazing. So one thing I want to say is, because I don't think about him as a singer like, oh, he has an amazing voice, because I think of the music and how unique it is. That's what I think of. So when you said he has an amazing voice, I'm like, oh yeah, he does. And I'm thinking about, like, obviously there's the operatics, as he says, where they're singing Mamma Mia, and they all have awesome voices. It was just 4 of them in the recording studio, and it's amazing. They're singing all these different ranges and they're harmonizing, and it's really cool. But the part that I think people always forget about that's so awesome in Bohemian Rhapsody is when he does the part at the end where it gets really rock and roll, and he's like, so you think you can spit in my eye part?
Which, by the way,
Leave me to die, when he says leave me to die.
and so now that
it's
you know
amazing.
how much we love Queen just in general,
Yeah.
let's talk about the actual movie.
Yeah, I guess we should.
And I mean, the only thing that we could really talk about the movie, because it's a historical,
It's based on history, so it's not
whatever.
like we can guess what it's about. I mean, it has happened.
There's a couple of directors and a couple of writers that are doing this movie. One is Dexter Fletcher, who is the lesser known of the 2 directors, and he most recently did Eddie the Eagle.
Oh,
which
that got good marks.
It got good marks, as Bethany
people
says,
liked it.
and it was also a real story.
Yeah.
And then the
But I had no
other
desire to watch that one.
director is Bryan Singer, who directed the X-Men movies, basically all the X-Men movies, and directed The Usual Suspects and Superman Returns.
The Usual Suspects is great.
So this is kind of a weird one for him to be doing out of his normal arena. And I don't really know how much both of them were involved, because they both have director credits for this. So, who knows? And then the writers, Anthony McCartan, who has written a bunch of other stuff, but most recently and most famously done Darkest Hour, which is the Winston Churchill movie with Gary Oldman, and The Theory of Everything, which is the Stephen Hawking movie.
So 2 based on real stories.
So 2 biopics, pretty much.
So is this based off of an actual book, though, or something, and he just wrote the screenplay?
I don't think so.
So
I think it's just
he just did his research.
No,
and wrote.
I saw he did the story and the screenplay, and then another writing credit was Peter Morgan, who created and wrote a lot of The Crown, that Netflix series about the Queen, and Frost Nixon, and a few other historical movies. So there you go. You have a lot of experience. You have a lot of good people working on it, and then obviously you have this Rami Malek,
Mm-hmm.
who is, a kind of an up-and-comer type
Yeah,
person.
it's weird though because he's been around forever.
He's been around for a long time.
But he's always been playing tiny, small character roles like King Tut. And then he got Mr. Robot. And I've never seen Mr. Robot. Have you seen any of it?
No, I haven't watched any of it.
And so I don't know, but people seem to love it.
He's very interesting way about him. And obviously in this,
face.
he won't get to do that. He'll have to do whatever, footage
Yes.
of Freddie Mercury there exists that he gets the copy off of
Well,
when
it's
he
not the
says the operetics.
It's not the first time that he's had to, make himself appear like somebody else. I mean, he had to figure out how to be just like King Tut.
You have no idea how much research he went through to prepare for the role of King Tut. He had to watch that Steve Martin sketch. King Tut. Doo-doo. Doo-doo. Doo-doo.
Anyway.
Now, when I die...
I don't know what you're talking about.
You've never seen that before?
No.
King Tut. I'll show it to you later.
Okay, yeah. So, Queen.
Buried with the donkey.
Queen, this movie is called Bohemian Rhapsody. I think that it's going to be good, and at the very least, it's going to be fun to watch because it's just, you're going to hear all of their best songs.
Yeah, and that'll be fun.
Like they had She's a Killer in there.
Killer Queen.
Killer Queen is what it's called. The whole time, like when it starts off, they start off with Another One Bites the Dust. If you are maybe really young and never got into Queen because you're really young, check them out and check out. I mean, you'll know Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't know how you could live on this earth and not know that song right now.
Did you know?
But you will probably recognize some of the others too. Check them out. They're great.
That Freddie Mercury was actually, and you'll probably find this out in the movie, and I was just doing a little bit of research about Freddie Mercury, make sure I got my dates right. He was born as Farouk Belsara in what is now Tanzania.
Oh, wow.
So he was born in East Africa, and he grew up a lot in the British part of India.
Interesting. I wonder how he ended up in, America. Did they...
England.
England?
He went to college in England
well,
at
I guess
art
if
school.
he was in a British part of India...
Yeah, and I'm sure I could
already
read
spoke
more,
the
but
language.
what I
British.
was what I was gonna go into from that, because it's just kind of an interesting fact, is that when I was just doing the simple research for this episode, I got kind of entrenched in Freddie Mercury's Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
And so that shows you how interesting this guy's life was and how big of a deal he was, and not only that, how amazing his music was. And
I know very little about him, and even still, the little I know is really, really interesting. And I think that's what's going to be interesting about this is that other people may have heard stuff. Maybe people know a lot about it, but just to kind of watch it happen on screen will be interesting. And yeah, I don't know. That's the thing I always do after movies like this is go to their Wikipedia and and other sites and get a whole bunch of extra details. I love doing that.
And then two things. First thing is that most of the time, I say this a lot, is that whenever I see a biopic, especially a musician's biopic, it kind of looks like a made-for-TV movie, and this one doesn't.
No, this looks really well made.
Yeah, this one looks
visually, it looks stunning.
It's going to be up there with like the Ray Charles one and the
yes.
And I think the Johnny Cash one is good, but I don't think it's as great as people think it is.
It's the only reason it's as loved as it is because it plays all the Johnny Cash songs. See what I'm saying? Like if it's a great musician, you're gonna like it, but it's kind of depressing. So is Ray Charles, but like
spoiler, this one's gonna be pretty depressing as well.
But I'm saying it's slow and depressing. This looks like it has a lot of fun to it.
Right, because he was kind of a rebel in the sense
Freddie
of
Mercury?
Yeah, and like a outspoken like activist rebel.
Absolutely.
Not like Johnny Cash rebel where he just does whatever he wants and
he's
doesn't care.
wearing black and he's not going to a funeral.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this?
Maybe I am. And then but Freddie Mercury is more of like,
Yeah, he was very ostentatious and out there.
And the second thing I was going to say, speaking of Austin.
Oh, yes.
Mike Myers is in this movie.
Cool.
So I don't know. I feel like they've painstakingly gone to excessive efforts to not show who he's playing anywhere.
Yeah, that's weird.
So, like, on the IMDb, it just says Mike Myers, and it doesn't say himself. It doesn't say
It just says Mike Myers.
Wayne from Wayne's World.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think that it is?
I don't think it should be.
But it could potentially be. When Wayne's World came out, was Freddie Mercury still alive? I don't know when he
He
died.
died in 91.
So when did Wayne's World come out?
I think after that.
Okay, because I was gonna say if it came out while he was still alive, I could see it being a part of it, like him seeing somebody.
But
don't know.
no, I hope
They're
it's
so
not.
funny.
First of all, because it's not just like it says that he joined the cast, Mike
Okay.
Myers. So it's not like you don't just see like a clip of Wayne's World or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's he's actually in the movie, and they are not telling you who he's playing.
Interesting. That's weird. So for those of you who don't know, Wayne's World is a pretty famous old movie with Mike Myers in it, and it was based off of an SNL sketch, right?
Yes,
Originally.
it was.
And it's just really funny. There's a scene in it where these people rock out in a car to Bohemian Rhapsody. Very famous.
It's a very great scene.
Great scene.
Give it a YouTube.
Very funny.
Is
yeah.
that what the kids call
Just-
finding something on
just
YouTube these
type
days?
in Wayne's World Bohemian Rhapsody if you've never seen it. We are just
Give it a YouTube.
we are just educating the youths. Because I'm sure a bunch of young people younger than us listen to our podcast.
Wayne's World came out in 1992.
Okay, so like right after he died.
Yeah, so it was right after he died.
How sad.
And, maybe that's why they did it. Maybe it was an
Yeah.
homage.
Yeah.
But, okay, so let's move on to where, when, and how you're going to see this movie.
Okay.
Where? When? How? Are you going to see this movie?
Okay. So, I want to see this movie.
Where, when, and how?
Let me just put that out there. I want to see this movie in theater. I think that, like you said, it looks really good. And there's scenes in it where it shows him up on stage and then it shows him looking out at the audience that's just massive, like unbelievably massive. And I think that getting the big screen feel for how massive it is would kind of, you get to see it through his eyes, basically. Like, I've never really thought about that. And when I saw this trailer, I was like, wow, looking at that crowd is terrifying. Even as a musician who is used to playing in front of people, playing for that many people has to be an insane experience. And so getting to see it from his point of view, looking out, and then having it be on the big screen, I think will be really make you feel immersed in it. So that's why I want to see it on the big screen.
I want to see it in theaters as well.
And I guess that means around the time it comes out
for
is the win.
For a similar reason, the people make these movies because not only they want to tell the story, but they want to relive these moments as they were live in as a realistic way as possible.
Yeah.
So, when they've done those other biopic movies, they've done all of that where they try and kind of make this magical scenario and point of view where you're watching it and it is almost as exciting as when it actually happened.
Yeah.
And like I said before with Freddie Mercury, being an outward activist, he was openly gay in the late 70s, I think is when he first came out. And he contracted AIDS later on in his life, and he was all, and being able to have a build up to a moment, to a certain show. I think that it actually builds up to a specific show.
Probably.
And just being able to be in the theater and get the surround
The
sound
feeling
and
of
the
that.
experience of that specific show with all of the emotion.
And the emotion of the
intact.
audience. Because, I think that is one of the things that's really cool about those other ones like Johnny Cash and Ray Charles. The Ray movie, there's some really cool moments where you see him, in a small club and the energy that he had there. And then later on when he gets to come back home to Georgia after he had been banned for so many years. And,
Right.
those feelings, that moment where it gets quiet and then he starts playing the song Georgia. It's just amazing.
And
So I could see that.
so what the actual synopsis for this movie is, it's a chronicle of the years leading up to Queen's legendary appearance at the Live Aid concert in 1985. And so that's going to be the climax of the movie. And because you have all of this stuff leading up to it, it's going to be amazing and
Yeah.
feel like you were there because you have that history behind you.
And you and I both love Ray. We both love that movie. We both love Ray Charles and his music.
We got pop cans in the fridge with his picture on them right
Well,
now.
that's just because Pepsi is doing that right now.
Added perk.
We didn't have to pay extra for that.
I designed special cans, special stickers to put on all of our pop cans.
No. But we both love Ray Charles. I enjoy Johnny Cash, but I never knew his music until I watched the movie. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't.
Like, I think maybe, I knew Ring of Fire I had heard before, but I didn't know who he was really at all. And then I became a fan after that movie, though. Like, I went and looked up a bunch of his music, and now I'm a big fan. But even with loving Ray Charles and before going to see the movie, I think that it'll be nothing like this. Like, that it won't even compare to this because this is rock and roll. So even though Ray Charles is really good music, really, some of it's really upbeat, some of it's slower, it's all fun and awesome music, this is like rock and roll.
Right.
Like, this is what rock and roll should be. This is the intensity, that guitar. Like, that, you're right, that guitar player doesn't get enough credit because I don't care who wrote that music. He can play that music. That's not easy. People, when they learn guitar, aspire to be able to play some of these songs, you know? You gotta have those quick fingers.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Gotta be
yeah,
good.
my dad says that all the time. Is
So-
that if they don't have him, then Queen isn't Queen.
Yeah. Which, I mean, might be interesting to see their dynamic and I wonder how they found each other, how they got started.
It's just
I don't know.
just like how every great British invasion, or I guess they're not British invasion, but how every great British band found each other is that they're all art school dropouts. Every single one. That's how they all find each other. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Keith Richards, Mick Jagger, Freddie Mercury,
They're
Brian
in art
May.
school together and then they're like, you want to quit?
They're
and
all
just do
art
this?
school dropouts, every single one of them.
Well, anyway, I think it'll be interesting, but yeah, I think that big moment, even though it's cool in those other movies, I think that it'll be especially awesome in this. And I think that this story is going to be unique enough that it's worth being told. Because I know there are people out there that would totally watch a movie about Bruce Springsteen, even though he's not dead yet. They would still watch a movie about him. And it's never going to have the same type of impact as this, even if you love his music.
I mean,
because
his story is pretty good also.
Well, I hear his book is fantastic.
Yeah. His
But still,
life
it's not
story
gonna
is
be
pretty
but it's not going to be like Freddie Mercury.
impressive as
Like
well.
you said, Freddie Mercury
Freddie
was
Mercury
an openly
is-
gay man in a time when that was not okay and still became one of the most popular musicians of all time. Like, people,
Right.
I'm sure that tons of people who were super homophobic, maybe still are today, love his music.
Right.
And that is something, because there are a lot of people who are homophobic who will not watch something or listen to something if they hear that somebody gay is in it. And that's awful and terrible. But I'm saying this person is so great that he could overcome
Well,
all
that's
of
just
that
like
adversity.
there's a movie called Cadillac Records,
Yeah.
which is
I've
not
seen them.
it's not the greatest movie in the world, but
Sorry.
I like it because it's all of like my favorite musicians. It's Chess Records, the history of Chess Records. And it's like Muddy Waters and Etta James and Little Walter
So
and
blues music.
Chuck Berry and
Great blues
and
music.
Chuck Berry was, I think, one of the first, if not the first, to integrate radio
Yeah.
to be played on a white radio station, basically.
Yeah.
And
It's crazy to imagine that there were separate radio stations.
it's one of those
like,
things.
you can't see on radio
Chuck Berry and with Queen,
and you can't stop
Where-
people from listening to your station.
you make something so good that
Yeah.
even people who hate you
Just for being you.
love it.
Yeah. They're like, I want to hate you, but then you make this and I can't hate you. And so I'm just saying, like, Bruce Springsteen, I personally am not a fan. I got to say that because
You don't have to say that.
I got to say that because
That
a lot
was-
of you
that
out
was
there,
completely unprompted,
big
and
fans.
we had moved on.
but no, but I'm just saying, regardless of his story, it'll never be as impressive as this one or unique as this one. And also the rock and roll factor. This one has rock and roll.
Bruce Springsteen is rock and roll. What are you
No.
talking about?
No. I don't know what he is. He's a poet who sings his poetry, but
That's what rock and roll is.
no, rock and roll is rocking and rolling, and his is not.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's move on to Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes percentages.
Something you guys will come
Okay,
to learn.
Rotten Tomatoes percentages.
Wait, I was just going to say
What?
that something
You
people...
talk trash
no,
on Bruce Springsteen
no.
some more?
is that something that our new listeners will come to learn, is that I enjoy expressing my negative opinions as much as I enjoy expressing my positive ones. So let's focus on the positive. Queen. Bohemian Rhapsody. Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think?
Rotten Tomatoes. What was the last great biopic?
Oh, man. I mean, I, Tonya.
I, Tonya, I
We
guess.
just
Yeah, I
watched
mean
that.
that one got like a 94% or something
It was
crazy
very
like
popular.
that.
And even that Eddie the Eagle, which is the guy that directed that.
That got good marks.
That got good. That got like 80 something, and it didn't look that good. It didn't even look
Right.
that interesting. I can't believe people went to see it.
So I'm gonna say I don't see any reason why this won't get a 90, right?
That's yeah.
I'm gonna say 90%.
I'm gonna say 93%. I'm going for it because honestly, just watch the commercial or the trailer for it. It's so enjoyable just to watch the trailer.
Yeah, I mean I'm
And
not
you're
a
just gonna
big
be-
fan of the
It's just so enjoyable.
mashup of all of the different Queen songs put together.
Well, but they did it in such
but-
a way where I don't
yeah.
think it was supposed to be a mashup. I think it was just they had Another One Bites the Dust beat going underneath the whole time to keep a consistent feel, and then showed them singing little parts of
Yeah.
other songs.
And so, not a huge fan of that. But you're going
I
to
like
be able
it.
to hear all of the songs in their entirety.
they're gonna be
You're going to
awesome.
be able to see all of the musician biopic cliches that are going to be in there, and
Like-
they're going to
like
be in there
what?
because of how fun they are to watch. Like the recording studio stuff.
Oh yeah, the recording studio
um,
stuff is so fun.
Them like accidentally putting something together in a famous way. You're
or
going
just,
to see.
or just like an amazing collaboration moment
like,
where
I think-
the light bulb goes off and they're like, "Oh, I got it."
I have a feeling Mike Myers is going to be playing another famous musician, and they're
Yeah.
going to meet him and say his full name. You know, like how they make fun
Yeah.
of in Walk Hard all the time.
What's that?
Walk Hard.
I don't know how they make fun of that.
Whenever
Walk Hard,
whenever
yeah,
they meet
with John
another
C.
musician,
Reilly.
he says their full name like 3 different times. Every time
That
he
way
addresses
people
them.
know who
Hi,
they're-
Buddy Holly. Gee, thanks, Buddy Holly. You're a great guy, Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
So I think that Mike Myers might be like Elton John or someone like that.
He would be a great Elton John.
Although Elton John didn't look like that when he was during the 70s.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting to see. I think that it's gonna get really, really good score. A really, really good
Oh,
score.
Gonna get really good
I was gonna
score.
say high marks again, and then I realized that's a ridiculous
Go ahead,
thing.
go
Where
for
did
it.
that come
Go
from?
for it. Say it.
It's gonna get really high marks
There we go.
because
Put a quote on it.
how can it not be great?
Right.
That's my question to you, all of you listeners, to Charlie, to the world.
It's a great story that's already built in real life.
Like when
it's
I
a
watched,
sad story and also an inspiring story.
Yeah.
And it's filled with great music and great performances.
and hope, I bet.
And hope, I bet.
Here's the thing. Like when I watched the trailer, I was just like, oh, like actually when I first thought, I was like, oh, they're making a movie called Bohemian Rhapsody. Because for a brief moment, I thought it was going to be just some bad musical, not a
That would have been
biopic.
upsetting.
Yeah. And so for a brief moment, I thought that, but then I was like, let me click and see what this is. And then as soon as it started playing, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. But yeah, I'm excited to see the studio recording type stuff. There's a moment in Ray where he first records Hit the Road Jack,
Well, that's a very famous story.
and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to watch it unfold.
Where he kicks all of the background singers out of the studio and then does all 3 parts by himself.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But like, well, but there's also when he's creating the song though. When he's just sitting at the piano with that
Oh,
woman
yeah, that's good. too.
creating the song, and they're kind of going back and forth and riffing off of and like using their anger and stuff because they're disagreeing, and they make this amazing song. So I
No,
just
that
think,
is Nighttime is the Right Time. I
what?
think.
No, that's they start singing Hit the Road Jack.
Oh, in their like his apartment.
Yes.
On that little
yeah,
tiny
they're
piano.
just like, I think they were having an argument or something,
Yeah.
and then he was like,
Get in here. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Just being
But the point is, it's
mean.
amazing. It's really fun to see that stuff. I would love to see that for Queen because Queen is unique in its rock and roll. There's lots of rock and roll out there, but nothing has been quite like them ever since.
And nothing ever will be.
But like probably one of the closest we've had is that band Fun.
That one song by Fun.
When they first started singing, they had, what song was it? The Some Nights, that song.
You know what I think? I think that Alt J is more like Queen. And
Well,
but I think Alt J
not music
is
style.
I think Alt J is what Queen would be without Brian May, without that guitar.
I could see that.
Because it's very artistic and
it has the
intricate and everything.
overlapping parts.
Yeah, and it's
But that's what
good
Fun
in a
had,
different
too.
way.
So that band Fun had some like really, it had like three, like Bohemian Rhapsody has like three distinct parts to it. Along with, that's kind of like We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. Like the very distinct, almost sounds like two different songs within a song, right? That's what Fun had for a while. There was a couple of songs and people were like, maybe they'll be like Queen, but then no.
Everyone always says that, yeah. When someone sings multiple parts over each other, everyone's like, "Oh, is this gonna be like Queen?"
He had a good voice,
And it never is.
And but no one can ever match them. They're unique. That's just like nobody can ever be the Beatles. We'll have other great bands that will do other great things, but no one's ever going to be the Beatles. No one's ever going to be Queen again.
And it's just like,
And that's fine.
you know, he one of the best singers of all time, any music style in the history of music. That always happened when American Idol first came on.
Mm-hmm.
People always go in an audition and try and do Freddie Mercury's song, and the judges would always be like, "Oh boy."
Yeah.
They would always be like, "Wait, why'd you choose Freddie Mercury?"
Why not start somewhere that's attainable?
Famously, like the hardest thing to do.
Well, vocally too, even if you have an amazing voice, which a lot of people that go into that show do, like you said, his range was outrageous. He doesn't just sing well because his voice is pretty. He sings well because he can do very difficult things with his voice.
Well, and that's what
jumping to octaves
there was
and doing all sorts of things that aren't easy to replicate.
There was a quote from some reviewer, some music critic or something, that was saying that Freddie Mercury is so much different from every other rock and roll singer because he's not selling the emotion. He's selling the voice.
Yeah.
But also has the emotion.
But he writes it in with these layers and these harmonies so that.
No, but like even just him, like he's selling his voice is what he is putting forward, and
so
it's
good.
the best in the world. And then on top of that, he also has all of the emotion that comes with a great rock band.
Yeah. I have sat in a car and like jammed out to Bohemian Rhapsody. We probably all have at some point. But like I was at a music competition in high school and we were all waiting for our scores and the day can get long. And so me and three other friends sat in the car and like just turned on popped in my CD, my classic rock CD.
Whoa, old person alert.
And listened and jammed out. And we got to Bohemian Rhapsody and we all jammed out. We did the Wayne's World thing and headbanged and sang along.
Everyone has done that.
And all of us, we're currently in choir. We're good singers. And the thing is, even though you're a good singer, when you're singing that song, you sound goofy because if you try and hit the high notes, it's outrageous. Or if you're like, we were all women, girls, young girls, our voices.
We were all women, girls.
I don't know. We were all girls. Our voices will never sound quite like his because we're girls. And so like we might hit the note, but it sounds feminine and different. Like you just can't make yourself sound like him. God gifted him amazing vocal cords that are so unique and you can't just replicate it.
Well, I think that we should wrap it up.
Oh.
I think that we should give some homework
Okay.
Before this movie comes out, which will be in, hold on, let me check.
Oh, wow. You were not prepared for that, Mr. Research.
November 2nd. So you got a decent amount of time.
Oh, wow. Lots of time.
Decent amount of time. Between now and November 2nd, go and listen to the entire discography of Queen.
Oh, my God.
It's not
They don't
that
have to do
much.
that.
Just do it. It'll be fun. You'll love it.
Yeah. I mean, you'll probably love it.
You're going to find so many things that are so good that are not their biggest hits that they just play in this commercial that are so good.
Also, you will be surprised. Something will happen where you'll hear a song and you'll be like, oh, Queen did a cover of this? And then you'll find out, no, it's their song.
No, that was just you. That was just you.
For instance, Crazy Little Thing Called Love. That doesn't sound like a Queen song to me, but it is. And it's amazing. And we played it at our reception, at our wedding.
It's true.
Because Crazy Little Thing Called Love.
I think that guy played a weird version of it at
He did,
first.
and then he remedied it and played the right version later.
What an idiot.
Way to go, DJ.
Way to
It's
go,
okay, I wasn't
DJ.
paying him very much.
All right, so that's your homework for before this movie comes out, the entire discography of Queen.
Yes.
It's not as intense as it sounds.
How many CDs did they have? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't got to do the research
I
right now.
can
You
look
guys
it up,
figure it
but
out, guys.
I have no idea.
You can do it. You guys all have Google. Okay, so thank you for listening. I'm going to do some plugs this time.
Thank you.
check out our website, mttpodcast.com.
Check it out.
And that's where you can find all of our other episodes along with our
so
blogs.
many episodes and blogs.
Some news, whatever. It's all there. Anything we create, we put up there. And tell your friends about us. That's a big deal. Rate and review us on iTunes and on Facebook.
Facebook.
You can find us on Facebook at Movie Trailer Trash Podcast.
Woo!
And you can find us on Twitter at MTT Podcast.
So many tweets.
So if you're ever looking for us, it's either Movie Trailer Trash Podcast or MTT Podcast. Just type them both. You'll find us.
Just do it.
You'll figure it out. With Charlie and Bethany.
With Charlie and Bethany. And you can also go to our description. There's a link there for a 30-day free trial of Audible. You also get 2 free audiobooks. I'm sure there's a few different Queen, Freddie Mercury books out there that you can read that will get you even more prepared for this movie. You could be, by the end of the year, you could be a regular Queen expert.
Yeah. You
by the end of the year.
School all your friends.
School them all. Let them know how much more you know about Queen.
You could go to a special Queen trivia night and win it.
Yeah, you could.
I don't know if that exists. It probably does.
It probably does somewhere.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. We'll see you next time. And don't forget, also check out Entertainment Buffet. As always, our buddy.
See you guys.
Bye.